I want you to close your eyes for just a second. Well, unless you're driving or operating heavy machinery,
But
obviously.
definitely keep your eyes on the road if that's the right.
Exactly. But if you're safe at home, I want you to picture a bank vault, not just a standard wall safe, a massive, cold, heavy metal room.
Like a movie vault.
Yeah, exactly like that. Visualize it stacked absolutely to the ceiling with gold coins. You've got thick, banded stacks of bills, property deeds, endless rows of financial papers. It's the ultimate, undeniable picture of lifelong financial success.
The dream we're all sold, basically.
Right. Now, juxtapose that image with the person who actually owns it all. Picture them confined entirely to a wheelchair, physically unable to enjoy a single ounce of that immense wealth.
That's a rough image.
It is. They can't travel to the properties those deeds represent. They can't use those old coins to buy an experience they can actually partake in. It's a stark, almost chilling contrast. And welcome to today's deep dive.
Glad to be here for this one. It's an important topic.
We are exploring a massive paradigm shift today, one that challenges everything modern culture teaches us about preparing for the future. And this is especially critical if you are approaching or are already in that 58 and older demographic.
Which is exactly when these realities start hitting people hard.
Exactly. The overarching theme of our discussion today is true wealth, the vault or well-being. Our mission is to take you through a profound shift in focus. We're moving away from the obsessive hoarding of financial assets and pivoting toward fiercely investing in your health, or what classical frameworks often refer to as arogya,
Aroja.
which is a Sanskrit-derived concept that roughly translates to living without disease or achieving overall holistic health. So to unpack this, we are drawing from some truly timeless wisdom today, right?
We are. The visual you just painted sets the stage for a rather uncomfortable reality check.
Yeah.
What we are doing today is looking at a highly inspiring framework built around the concept of the energetic citizen.
The energetic citizen. I love that term.
It's a great concept. And we're diving into historical insights from the Akanjori publications. For context, these are historical Indian texts deeply focused on holistic living, spirituality, and human optimization.
And we have two specific issues we're pulling from today.
Right, specifically the writings from October 1968 and July 1974, because modern society heavily conditions us to accumulate paper wealth. We are taught to obsessively track our portfolios, our retirement accounts, our real estate equity.
Checking the stock app every morning.
Exactly. We treat these metrics as the ultimate scoreboard of a life well lived.
Hmm.
But today, we are evaluating a completely different metric for success. We are looking at the ultimate return on investment, which is our physical longevity and our vitality.
Let me jump in here, though, and play devil's advocate right out of the gate.
Go for it.
Society tells us to hoard that paper wealth because we need a safety net as we age. We're told the vault is what keeps us secure, but the very first section of our research presents what it calls the age 58 reality check.
The reality check.
Yes. The sources pose this highly confrontational question to the reader. They ask, by the time you hit age 58, you might have successfully built up this incredibly impressive bank balance, but have you actually learned how to create physical balance?
It's brilliant phrasing.
It really is. So what is the core argument the text is making here about that transition into our later 50s?
The text highlights a tragic irony that many people don't realize until it is far too late. It argues that if your physical health is lost or even severely compromised by the time you reach your late 50s, all of that accumulated property, those stocks, those gold coins in the vault,
They're useless.
they are instantly reduced to a mere pile of paper. The money technically exists. The numerical value is still sitting there on a wealth manager's spreadsheet.
But it doesn't mean anything in the real world.
Exactly. The capacity to experience the joy that wealth is supposed to bring is entirely gone. Because wealth is ultimately nothing more than a tool for experience.
For experience.
Without a functioning physical vessel to process those experiences, the tool is entirely useless. You might have the capital to book a first-class ticket to the Alps,
Sure.
but if your joints cannot handle the change in air pressure, or even just a walk through the terminal, the capital is functionally worthless.
That makes me think of someone buying a multi-million-dollar high-performance luxury sports car, meticulously keeping it in a pristine garage, but simultaneously losing their eyesight.
That's a perfect analogy.
You own the car, the asset is technically yours, but you can never actually drive it. It's just a heavy piece of metal sitting in the dark.
Completely devoid of its actual purpose.
Exactly. So I want you, the listener, to really think about your own retirement goals right now. Think about the spreadsheets, the endless meetings with financial advisors, the constant anxiety about market fluctuations. Are you disproportionately focused on the vault rather than the vessel?
It's a question we all need to ask ourselves.
Are you spending 99% of your energy building the bank account and completely ignoring the very body that actually has to live out those retirement years?
And this brings up a crucial redefinition of how we understand capital.
Let's get into that.
The modern economic mindset views fiat currency or property as the foundational layer of wealth. The texts we are examining fundamentally reject that premise. To counter the image of the cold, metallic vault, the sources introduce us to a specific illustrative concept.
Right, there is this illustrative character mentioned in the text named Master Dinanath.
Master Dinanath.
On a first read, the description sounds almost like a philosophical fable. You visualize this character walking briskly in a sunlit park. He's laughing with his friends. The text describes his energy as radiating, showcasing a vibrant, fully alive human being.
The exact opposite of the wheelchair in the vault.
Exactly. But I'm assuming the text isn't just telling us a nice story about a glowing man in a park. What is the actual function of this archetype in the broader framework?
Master Dinanath serves as the philosophical archetype for the energetic citizen. He is the visual anchor for a very specific piece of wisdom drawn directly from the October 1968 edition of the text.
And what's the quote there?
The direct quote from that publication is, "Health is the first wealth."
Health is the first wealth.
The philosophy broken down there is brilliant in its simplicity. A body that is weak simply cannot consume or enjoy the pleasures of the world. Health isn't framed as a nice-to-have bonus alongside your financial wealth.
Or like a secondary pursuit once your portfolio is secured.
Exactly. Health is positioned as the root capital.
Wait, let me make sure I'm wrapping my head around this concept of root capital. Are the sources suggesting that we have the entire wealth equation backward?
They absolutely are.
Because we usually think of money as the primary capital we use to buy happiness or comfort or experiences. If I'm understanding this text correctly, it is flipping the definition entirely.
100%.
Health is the actual currency. If you don't have the health, the root capital, no amount of secondary capital, meaning money, can step in to purchase that happiness or experience.
The original capital isn't stored in a steel vault. Your real assets, according to this historical framework, are measured by your muscle density, your joint mobility, and your lung capacity.
Muscle over metal.
Muscle over metal. When you invest time and effort into your physical body, you are making the only investment in life that guarantees you will never suffer a total loss.
That's a bold claim, but it makes sense.
Think about that strictly from an economic perspective. Financial markets crash, inflation surges, real estate bubbles burst, and currencies devalue.
We've seen all of that happen.
But the lung capacity you build, the cardiovascular endurance you maintain, that pays guaranteed dividends every single day you wake up. You utilize that capital every time you stand up from a chair, walk up a flight of stairs, or play with a grandchild.
I hear that, and it makes logical sense. But let me push back a bit on behalf of the listener.
Sure.
Let's say you are 58 years old right now. Maybe you've spent the last 35 years sitting at a desk for 9 hours a day, commuting for another 2, and eating whatever was fastest. The body is already aging. Isn't it a bit late to start trying to build this root capital?
It's never too late.
Is this text just telling us we need to suddenly find the motivation to go to the gym every day? Because motivation is notoriously unreliable.
The sources anticipate that exact friction. They are highly explicit that relying on fleeting motivation is a recipe for failure. You don't just wake up feeling inspired to be healthy one day and suddenly reverse decades of sedentary behavior.
Motivation fades by February every single year. We all know that.
Exactly. The framework requires building what the source specifically terms a system. They use that exact word, a system.
Okay.
It's a rigid, non-negotiable health discipline. Consider how a financial system works. A robust retirement savings system automatically deducts money from your paycheck and deposits it into an investment account.
Right, you don't even see it.
It happens regardless of whether you feel motivated to save that month. The system does the heavy lifting.
So we need to divorce our physical habits from our emotional state. Just like the 401k auto drafts, regardless of the stock market's daily mood, this physical system operates regardless of whether it's raining outside or whether you feel tired after work.
The energetic citizen framework demands that exact mechanical approach for physical vitality. You execute the system. You operate within the predetermined boundaries you've built.
So no negotiating with yourself.
None. If the system dictates a 30-minute walk at dawn, you do not consult your feelings about the walk. You simply execute the task. This rigid adherence to a physical system leads directly to the core philosophical argument of the 1974 text.
Which brings us to what the sources present as the ultimate equation. It's a highly graphic, high-contrast equation that frames the entire discussion. The equation is this: health equals freedom, whereas disease equals bondage.
Health equals freedom. Disease equals bondage.
Let's unpack the bondage part of that equation. Because when we hear the word bondage, we usually think of something abstract. But in the context of aging and physical decline, this is a very literal geographical reality, isn't it?
It is entirely literal. When the texts discuss bondage in the context of disease, they are talking about the severe restriction of human choices. Disease binds you to a bed. It binds you to a wheelchair.
It traps you.
It creates schedule bondage where your entire day revolves around a rigorous medication timetable. It creates geographic bondage where you cannot travel or live anywhere that is outside a 10-mile radius of a specific specialist or hospital.
Your world just shrinks.
Health, on the other hand, provides geographic freedom, lifestyle freedom, and experiential freedom. The economic reality of this equation is where the framework becomes intensely practical.
How so?
It is infinitely better and significantly cheaper to shed drops of sweat today than to be forced to pay exorbitant medical bills tomorrow.
Drops of sweat today versus exorbitant medical bills tomorrow. That is incredibly tangible. You are paying a toll either way.
Exactly. You pay up front or you pay with interest later.
You either pay up front with the physical effort of your sweat right now, or you pay with your literal wealth, your autonomy, and your freedom later on. And that concept of autonomy leads to arguably the most striking perspective from the entire reading.
It really reframes everything.
The text fundamentally redefines the concept of what it means to be wealthy. It states that if you are 70 years old and you can still walk completely unassisted, you are functionally the richest person in the world.
Think about what a powerful recalibration of societal norms that is. Walking unassisted at 70 as the ultimate luxury.
It's wild to think about it that way, but it's true.
Why is that specific physical act elevated above having millions in a trust fund? Because it represents complete, unbroken physical independence.
Nobody has to help you.
It means you are not reliant on external mechanical aids. You are not burdening your family members or hired caregivers with your basic biological needs, and you retain your personal autonomy.
Autonomy is everything.
In the later stages of life, autonomy becomes the most precious commodity in existence. You can have an absolute fortune in the bank, but if you require someone else to physically lift you out of bed or help you stand up from a chair, your vault of money cannot buy back your basic human autonomy.
That brings us right back to the bank balance versus physical balance argument. You might have the bank balance to afford the best nursing care in the world, but can you literally keep your physical balance while walking down the street?
Precisely.
The Master Dinanath archetype from earlier shows us how this autonomy is preserved through daily choices. The sources give us a visual of this character actively rejecting junk food and consciously choosing a bowl of fresh fruit.
A simple choice, but profound.
Now, on the surface, that sounds like a generic diet tip from a magazine. Eat your fruit, avoid the junk. But in the context of this framework, it's not really about the fruit at all, is it?
The fruit is merely a representation of a micro-decision. It is the daily operational maintenance of the system we discussed earlier.
Executing the system.
Rejecting the highly processed food and choosing the nutrient-dense option is a conscious rejection of momentary, fleeting pleasure in favor of long-term freedom. Every time that choice is made, it is a micro-deposit into the root capital account.
A deposit. I like that.
He is actively protecting his investment. He is ensuring that his lung capacity, his cellular health, and his muscle density remain out of the red. It is the daily compounding interest of physical discipline.
Okay, so we've looked at the cold metal vault. We've explored the philosophical archetype of the energetic citizen. We've redefined what it means to be the wealthiest person in the world at age 70, equating it to sheer physical autonomy.
We've covered a lot of ground.
Now, we need to address the mandate this historical material leaves us with. The overarching call to action from these texts is incredibly urgent. It doesn't suggest you consider this at your next annual checkup.
No, it's much more immediate than that.
It demands that you change your priorities today. The sources explicitly state a profound reordering of our life's administrative tasks. Before you even think about sitting down to write your financial will, You need to establish a system to keep your body healthy.
We are remarkably quick to get our legal affairs in order. We spend months making sure our paper wealth is distributed correctly, that the trusts are set up, that the legacy of our vault is secure after we are gone.
But what about while we're here?
The text challenges the logic of that prioritization. It demands that we first ensure the vessel carrying that wealth is optimized for the actual journey of life. It is an intellectual demand to prioritize the living experience over the posthumous legacy of paper.
That is a massive shift in thinking.
The final sign-off from the 1974 source material drives this mandate home with an aggressive, almost militant energy.
Yeah, the final philosophy essentially shouts at the reader, stop making excuses, build the system. And then the text signs off with the phrase, Jai Hind. For our listeners who might not be familiar with that term, Jai Hind is a traditional Indian salute that translates to victory to India. But in the context of this specific publication about health and vitality, it feels less like a geopolitical statement and more like a deeply personal battle cry.
The use of that specific salute is a brilliant way to conclude the framework. It takes a phrase associated with national victory and applies it to the sovereignty of the individual body.
Victory over physical decline.
It frames the pursuit of health not just as a casual hobby or a personal favor to yourself, but as a rigid duty. Stop making excuses, build the system.
It's uncompromising.
It is designed to remove all the emotional bargaining we do with ourselves. It strips away the complex justifications we invent for skipping a workout, sitting for 12 hours, or eating poorly. It simply demands adherence to the system that guarantees personal victory over physical decline.
So, as you go about the rest of your day, I want you to look at your routine through this new lens. Your daily habits. Choosing the nutrient-dense meal over the fast food. Choosing to generate drops of sweat rather than spending hours sitting on the couch.
They add up.
These are not just health choices. They are financial transactions. They are either deposits into or withdrawals from your most critical fundamental bank account, which is your physical vitality. You are the sole manager of that root capital.
To build on that concept of capital management, there is a final lingering question I think everyone should explore on their own.
What's that?
We've established today that health is the only root capital capable of purchasing physical experiences. We've discussed the compounding interest of your daily physical habits. Consider the opposite side of that economic coin.
Okay, I'm tracking.
In the financial world, we all understand inflation. Inflation quietly, invisibly erodes the purchasing power of your money over time. If you just leave your cash sitting in a cold, heavy metal vault, it loses its value year after year. Consider the concept of biological inflation. The natural aging process is biological inflation. It is quietly, persistently eroding the purchasing power of your health. Right now, every single day you are alive.
Wow. Biological inflation.
The question you must answer is this: what daily micro-investments can you make, starting today, to outpace that biological inflation?
Are you making the daily deposits to outpace it, or are you just sitting in the vault watching your true wealth erode? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the real definition of capital. Go out there and build your system.